Jesse, let me go ahead and hit that record. So welcome again to Bloomerang Academy. Thank you so much for joining us today. Joining us is our presenter, Jesse Gilchrist. Jesse is a Zapier certified expert and Bloomerang Integrations expert or consultant over at Sidekick Solutions. Sidekick Solutions is a Bloomerang partner specializing in system automations for Bloomerang. They've been a Bloomerang user since 2013, almost since the beginning, and most recently, they were part of the team that launched our Bloomerang Zapier app. We're excited to have Jesse here today to share her expertise and explore how integrations with Bloomerang can really take your fundraising efforts and donor cultivation to the next level. Welcome, Jesse.
Awesome. Thanks, Diana. It's so great to be here. Thank you, everyone who's hopped on. Really excited about our topic here today, and let's go ahead and dive on in. So I'm going to go ahead and turn a webcam off now that you've seen my face, so you can focus on the slides that we've got here. Okay. So many organizations that we talk with really kind of communicate that the thought of integrating other apps with their CRM can feel overwhelming, sometimes unattainable. And with the right approach to technology adoption and automation, the integration of the different applications in your tech stack can be pain-free and can really result in some considerable gains for your organization. So this webinar today is really the first in a series that we're going to host here with Diana and the Bloomerang Academy team that will complete an incremental dive into Zapier integrations for Bloomerang. So while today's webinar is really kind of this high-level overview of what can be accomplished with integrations using Zapier, there is a series of webinars coming up, and in July you can join us for Zapier 101 and 201, which will focus on the Bloomerang Zapier app itself and different utilities in Zapier that can be used to customize automated workflows. And then in August, we will be hosting an Ask Me Anything style webinar where you can submit your questions about Zapier integrations and get a response from a Bloomerang and Zapier integration expert. So that's kind of more of an open forum where you can ask us anything, and we will go ahead and answer those integration questions. So our hope is that by the end of this webinar series, you'll be able to see how you can approach automations across your organization to really support your mission and those organizational goals that you have. So today is the first webinar in the series, and we are going to start by kind of setting the stage for what can be accomplished with Bloomerang Zapier integrations. So we're going to talk about some automation opportunities, kind of what we see as a good approach to full system automation. We're going to look at some examples of nonprofit automations, and then kind of review this idea of continuous improvement when it comes to automations or automating your tech stack, which includes Bloomerang. So we believe that automated integrations are really essential to any donor database. So it's really common for organizations of all sizes to use other software in addition to their CRM. And so while Bloomerang may serve as your central donor database, you may need additional tools like any of the ones shown on the slide here. Email marketing, accounting, to-dos and tasks, all very common tools that we see nonprofits of different sizes use. Now, with these different tools that your organization may use, there really is an opportunity for automation in a few different areas. The first is eliminating double data entry. So most organizations, I see someone commented that there's a clicking noise. Let's see if I can get rid of that here. I think I've resolved it, but if you hear the clicking noise again, Britt, please message us again and let us know. Okay. So as I mentioned, oh, awesome. It looks like we've gotten it resolved. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you letting me know. So as I mentioned, there's kind of three main opportunities for automation and nonprofits, and we think these are worth noting. Most organizations have a goal of reducing double data entry, and we often like to joke that we have a goal of eliminating it. By taking away that need to enter data in multiple systems, you can really free up time and resources so that you can refocus those on your mission and drive fundraising. automations can also really strengthen your reporting and improve your data quality in your CRM. The inability to report on certain metrics or poor data quality present really unique opportunities for automation, because you can use automation to not only generate some dynamic reports beyond those presented in Bloomerang's reporting utility, but also the automation of data entry can improve data quality, because that data going into your system is following the same business logic rules, and you can ensure consistency of coding and data entry. And then obviously one of the largest opportunities for automation is being able to expand the capacity and capabilities of your organization without having to invest in more human capital or human resources. So a shortage of human capital and resources is a prime opportunity to explore automation and really expand the reach of your people and the resources that you have. When an organization is facing kind of a challenge with technology, it's really easy to default to going out and looking for a new tool and then adopting your work to fit that solution. And this can sometimes lead to that square peg, round hole feeling. Instead, we kind of encourage you to think about this in a different way and to really focus on your mission, your strategic plan, your organizational goals, and allow your use case to drive the technology of new tools or apps. So what this looks like is kind of this life cycle shown here on the screen, where we start by identifying the use case, confirming it aligns with our organizational goals, defining the experience that we want our constituents to have. And only at that point do we recommend going to the marketplace and trying to find a tool that really fits the use case you've just defined. Because that piece of making sure not only the app meets your needs for the use case, but also is integration friendly, is what is going to ensure that you have a successful integration between your CRM, being Bloomerang, and other applications that you might be using or are looking to adopt. Now, adding new technology to your organization should always come from a lens that Bloomerang is kind of the central hub of your tech stack. Data should really flow in and out of your Bloomerang database, and you should be connecting Bloomerang to any other best-in-class tools the organization is using. This really ensures Bloomerang maintains a global record of your constituents' engagement with your organization and centralizes reporting on constituent activity. So you can see this is just a really generic illustration here, but it shows how some common applications we see nonprofits use could be arranged in a tech stack to flow in and out of Bloomerang as the central hub. When we talk about Bloomerang integrations, there are really two types that we want to differentiate between: native integrations and custom integrations using Zapier. Native integrations, we often call them direct integrations, are built within your Bloomerang software. These are the most user-friendly form of integration because they offer a standardized sync of data between two systems. You can consider these templated integrations, meaning there's little room for customization, but it does create that standard sync between two systems. So some popular native integrations with Bloomerang that we see clients use a lot are QuickBooks Online, MailChimp, FundraiseUp, GiveButter. The list goes on. You can look in Bloomerang's marketing and knowledge base for the full list or the full suite of native integrations, but those are some common ones. Now, the other type of integration is the custom Zapier integration in this bottom illustration right here. Zapier is a software that enables additional Bloomerang integration and fundraising opportunities. It's really a middleware that sits between your Bloomerang database and other apps, helping them talk to each other. While Bloomerang is continuously expanding its suite of native integrations, it may not integrate with apps that meet your use case, or the native integration may be too limited. And so Zapier is a solution for these challenges. There are three primary reasons that custom integrations with Zapier can be a value add for your organization. The first is that Zapier connects to over 4,000 other applications. It's actually, they announced today, it's actually over 5,000 integrations as of today. So what this means is that any app in Zapier's directory can be connected with any other app in the directory. So since Bloomerang is connected to Zapier, you can connect Bloomerang to any of the other applications in Zapier's marketplace. So in order to see what apps Zapier has available, you can go to zapier.com/apps, and you'll see its full list of applications, and you can search for the other tools you may be using. You can see there's Bloomerang, MailChimp. Let's say you need a more robust QuickBooks Online integration. Lots of apps in this marketplace, and you can also search by app categories as well. The other reason for pursuing a custom integration with Zapier is that Zapier was really designed for anyone to build automations. You don't need to know how to code or be a developer in order to set up an integration in Zapier. And then Zapier also enables us to build custom integrations. So you really won't be limited to a one-size-fits-all workflow, mapping, formatting. You can build an integration that's specific to your organization and your use case. And this is where a couple of our upcoming webinars, the 101 and the 201 webinars we're going to offer here about Zapier in July, will be really helpful, because the 101 webinar is going to dive into the components of the Bloomerang Zapier app itself. And the 201 webinar is going to dive deeper into some of those Zapier utilities that will allow you to customize your integration to match your use case. So before we move on to talking about some popular integrations we see with Bloomerang, we'd like to do a quick poll to see how many of you have integrations with Bloomerang currently. This could be native or custom Zapier integrations. So it looks like Zapier or Diana's already gone ahead and launched that poll. So go ahead and give us a response and let us know if you are using integrations currently.
Thanks, Jesse. We'll leave the poll up for about a minute, but so far it looks like 51% of our attendees today don't or have not explored integrations yet, or this is the first time that they're hearing about it. About 24% have explored the integrations but haven't set them up yet. We have 4% who say that they have Zapier integrations only, 17% who say they have native integrations only, and 4% who have both native and Zapier integrations.
Perfect. Thank you, Diana. So it sounds like some of you have some at least awareness of Zapier or maybe using it currently. So now we're going to transition to exploring some of the most popular integrations that we see. So this is obviously not a complete list. There is a lot of opportunities for automation based off of the tools that you use. And really our goal of highlighting these use cases is to give you a sense of what's possible with integrations for Bloomerang using Zapier. So this is really a springboard to then provide some more context in the Zapier 101 and 201 webinars. So definitely attend those if you are looking for more of a deeper dive on the technical functionality of the Bloomerang Zapier app and Zapier itself. So let's start with talking about fundraising applications. Many organizations we see are beginning to turn to other apps for more robust fundraising functionalities, such as donor portals, peer-to-peer fundraising, online forms with different graphic or design features, and crowdfunding. Bloomerang does have native integrations with a few different fundraising apps like GiveButter and Fundraise Up, but there are many others in the marketplace that are not natively integrated with Bloomerang. And without pursuing an integration using Zapier, your options for getting that data into Bloomerang are manual data entry and imports. So a Zapier-enabled integration between a fundraising app and Bloomerang supports a real-time sync of donors and donations. into Bloomerang. And this can be both one-time and recurring donations. This sync from a fundraising app to Bloomerang can be as simple or as complex as you'd like it to be based on your organization's use case. So in addition to finding or creating the constituent in Bloomerang, if an existing one isn't found, integrations with a fundraising app can typically dynamically code the fund campaign and appeal in Bloomerang based off of the fundraising campaign before then creating the donation in Bloomerang. This dynamic coding of fund campaign and appeal on the donation based off of the fundraising campaign is functionality that we will cover in the 201 webinar. So if this is something that aligns with your use case and you've been trying to figure out how to do it, the 201 webinar will be a great place to learn the tips and tricks on that functionality. This dynamic coding step right here is what really makes this solution scalable, because as you add new fundraising campaigns in your app, you can ensure that when they sync to Bloomerang, they are being coded with the appropriate fund campaign and appeal. In syncing your fundraising data to Bloomerang, this allows you to centralize reporting and really see that full picture of constituent engagement and giving in a single platform, instead of having to pull giving metrics from two different systems. Now, Bloomerang, as many of you may already know and use, has its own mass email feature. And some organizations use that mass email tool for sending email campaigns. But others may use a third-party email marketing platform like MailChimp or Constant Contact. Now, when using a separate email marketing tool, we find that organizations either manually enter data back and forth, run periodic imports, or sometimes even keep the two lists exclusive and separate. And so the goal of an integration between Bloomerang and an email marketing tool is to allow those email marketing efforts to be more efficient, more timely, and more targeted. Now, if you use MailChimp for email marketing, you do have a choice to utilize Bloomerang's native integration or to explore a custom integration with Zapier. And the decision to use the native integration or Zapier really comes down to the type of emails your organization wants to send. So certain types of emails and email series can only be triggered in MailChimp using Zapier automation. For organizations using an email marketing tool other than MailChimp, Zapier is the primary avenue for integration at this time. So we're going to illustrate the possible integration avenues using MailChimp as our example, but similar workflows could be designed with a lot of different email marketing tools. So we're going to talk about first the flow of data that can occur from Bloomerang to your email marketing tool. We can sync constituents to MailChimp as subscribers. When a constituent is added or updated in Bloomerang, we call this a basic list sync. We can send Bloomerang constituents to MailChimp with groups, tags, and merge fields for sending one-off campaigns. And this really allows you to keep your subscriber base up to date in real time, so you can log into MailChimp and send one-off campaigns efficiently with no need to scrub any data. And we can also send Bloomerang constituents to MailChimp with groups, tags, or custom fields for enrollment in automated email campaigns, or what is called drip campaigns. So the option of feeding constituents into MailChimp to trigger drip campaigns essentially allows your organization to send an email or a series of emails based off of certain activity in Bloomerang. So here are some common ideas for automated email campaigns in MailChimp or an email marketing tool. And we have a couple of clients using these currently. We can do a new donor drip campaign, birthday notifications, lapsed donor reminders, and membership renewal follow-ups. Now, this is really just a brainstorming list of different ways or different types of drip campaigns you could set up in your email marketing tool. There's a lot of variation to this that could be expanded on based on your organization's use case and need. So you can see in this illustration here, we're showing how a Zapier automation that's triggering on a new transaction in Bloomerang not only adds or updates our subscriber in MailChimp, but creates what's called a custom event that then triggers a 3-email series for new donors. So a great way to do automations in order to support your communications and really welcoming those new donors into the fold of your organization. Now, in addition to automations that sync constituents from Bloomerang into your email marketing tool, we can also integrate the other direction. So syncing subscribers from your email marketing tool back into Bloomerang. So this could be adding new subscribers in your email marketing tool and creating constituent accounts in Bloomerang, logging unsubscribe activity in the timeline in Bloomerang, or logging some preference changes as well. If your preferences in Bloomerang are tracked more on a constituent custom field as opposed to email interest types in Bloomerang, we can also do that via automation. So there are opportunities for creating that consistency between your email marketing tool and Bloomerang in both directions. Another common integration that we see for Bloomerang users is an e-commerce store. So whether you are selling tangible or intangible products, an online store is a great way to boost your online giving experience beyond a standard donation form. Shopify and WooCommerce are two great options because they provide kind of best-in-class e-commerce functionality, customized look and feel, and are also very integration friendly. We've integrated both of those with Bloomerang with success. So a Zapier-enabled integration with an e-commerce platform can automatically create constituents and transactions in Bloomerang for new paid orders. Now, this solution provides what's called line item support. And what that really means is that when a purchaser buys more than one item, so they purchase a t-shirt and a book from your online store, a split transaction can be created in Bloomerang with one split per line item. So this really supports any variation or dynamic coding that you need a fun campaign and appeal based on the items that the donor purchased through your e-commerce store. Additionally, Zapier can support creating separate transactions for shipping and sales tax if those need to be coded differently in fun campaign or appeal to align with your accounting practices. And then we can also update the constituent in Bloomerang with any new contact information. So this solution, similar to the fundraising solution or the fundraising app solution, is a scalable solution where it can support the addition of new products in your store. So it's not something where the products you have in your store when the integration is first configured can't change. It's a dynamic solution, it's scalable. So as you add new products, they can sync successfully back into Bloomerang. So let's go ahead and talk about accounting software now. So an integration with an accounting system is one of the most requested integrations that we see. And the goal of an integration with an accounting system is really based on a sync of transactions in real time so that development and fundraising are on the same page. An integration between Bloomerang and an accounting software starts with a new revenue transaction being created in Bloomerang. And ultimately what it does is that it finds or creates a customer and creates a sales receipt or invoice for the transaction. So this workflow is dynamic, similar to the other ones we've talked about already, and includes steps that convert the Bloomerang coding, so typically fun, campaign, and appeal, to the appropriate coding or account codes in the accounting software. Again, these lookups and conversions are functionality that we are going to talk about in the Zapier 201 webinar later in July. but it's a great way to be able to translate how something is coded from a development perspective in Bloomerang to what it needs to be coded as in your accounting software for finance purposes. Now, it's important to note here that Bloomerang does have a fairly robust native integration with QuickBooks Online. So if you're using QuickBooks Online and are looking to pursue an accounting integration, we always recommend looking at the native integration first to see if it meets your use case. If it doesn't, or you use an accounting software other than QuickBooks Online, Zapier is a great avenue to create that custom workflow to sync revenue transactions into your accounting software. This flow of data between Bloomerang and accounting, we've also heard, is very supportive of the reconciliation process between the two systems, because it ensures that as you are creating new revenue transactions in Bloomerang, the corresponding sales receipt or invoice is also being created in your finance system. Now, before we jump on to the last type of automation here, I want to pause for a second and see, Diana, if there's any questions that we want to answer live on the call. I know Jeff has been answering most of the questions. Those of you that have submitted them to the Q&A, he's been answering those directly, but didn't know, Diana, if there was any we wanted to tackle here live on the call before we continue.
I think there's a great question here that we can provide a quick answer to, of just like, what are those instances where you might look to Zapier to integrate something with Bloomerang as opposed to integrating directly?
So are you thinking in terms of native integrations versus Zapier?
Yeah, so I think the first point is that not everything integrates with Bloomerang directly, and that's one use case for why we would need Zapier. But there are instances where there are native integrations, but you may still choose to explore the Zapier integration.
Yes, that's a great question. So the decision between, do I use the native integration with Bloomerang, or that Bloomerang has with the application that I'm using, or do I explore Zapier, really comes down to how you want the data to sync into or out of Bloomerang to the other application you're using. So the native integrations that Bloomerang has with other applications are fairly robust. And so we do always recommend looking at the native integration first. Obviously, the native integrations are typically part of your Bloomerang subscription, or a lot of them are. So we always recommend looking at the native integration first. But the decision points where you may want to explore a Zapier integration come down to data mapping. So is the data that's syncing in from, let's say it's data writing into Bloomerang, is it mapping to all the fields you want to write to in Bloomerang? A lot of times native integrations write to standard fields, but not always custom fields. So if there are custom data elements, let's say you're using Fundraise Up, and you're asking some custom questions on your forms, and you want that data to sync into Bloomerang, that may be something where you would need to explore Zapier to map those custom questions to custom fields in Bloomerang. So any kind of custom element you want to sync over is typically a kind of a decision point of whether to explore a Zapier integration. Another one is kind of the decision point between a delayed sync versus a real-time sync. So great examples of these are QuickBooks Online and MailChimp. So QuickBooks Online typically has a 24-hour or longer delay from when you create a transaction in Bloomerang to when it syncs to QuickBooks using the native integration. Zapier would allow that transaction to sync in real time as soon as it's created. And the native integration with MailChimp is a push. Meaning you push a list of constituents from Bloomerang to MailChimp to send a targeted email to. And Zapier enables more of those kind of automated drip campaigns or that real-time sync of your list between the two systems. So kind of the, let's say the short caption or short response to this is anything custom or looking for a real-time sync when that native integration has a bit of a delay. Those are two real key areas to look for in terms of whether you need to explore Zapier or the native integration.
Lovely. Thanks, Jesse. I like that point you make of start with the native integration first and see if that fits your needs.
Mhm.
And we can always extend the capabilities through Zapier. Thanks for that.
Yes, absolutely. Any other questions, Diana, or do we want to keep going and we can address more at the end of the
I think
presentation?
let's keep going for now.
Okay, awesome. So the last use case we really want to touch on here are dynamic dashboards. So dynamic dashboards, we're going to use Google Sheets as our example, but really what these solutions are is that they trigger based on the creation or updating of a record in Bloomerang. And the data for that record is pushed through Zapier to a spreadsheet for advanced reporting, visualizations of the data, or even just expanded access for team members. So this type of automation is typically pursued when non-Bloomerang users need access to data without a login. A great example of this is your board. So if there's certain data you want your board to be able to see, but you don't want to provision them with Bloomerang full user access, a dynamic dashboard is a great way to do that. If you need up-to-date lists in real time, like a member directory, if it's more efficient for your team to have a real-time list instead of running a report, or if you need advanced reporting beyond what's available in Bloomerang's kind of user interface for Bloomerang's or for reporting right now. So the possibilities for generating dynamic dashboards in Google Sheets are extensive. And from these examples I've given, you might be sitting here wondering, what does this actually mean, or what does this look like? So I want to walk you through a couple examples so you can see what we mean by a dynamic dashboard. The first one we're going to talk about is a fund activity dashboard. So this dashboard is really similar to the campaign goal dashboard you have in Bloomerang right now. And so what it does is it will show you the total raised for each fund, the progress toward a goal. And additionally, it can go one step further and even include the number of donations and progress toward a goal for that metric as well. So it's a way to visualize the revenue coming into your organization at that fund level instead of the campaign or appeal level, and can really help provide some of that visibility, again, especially for individuals that maybe aren't Bloomerang users, so board members or other stakeholders that don't have Bloomerang access. It's a great way for them to be able to see those high-level stats for your organization. Now, another use for dynamic reporting dashboards is related to donor cultivation and pipeline tracking. So Bloomerang itself doesn't have a standard module for supporting the identification and cultivation of major gift opportunities. So this really provides a lot of flexibility for your organization to design a moves management structure that aligns with your cultivation process. And this is done using custom fields that can be paired with a Google Sheet to track your major gift pipeline. So as you can see in this example, we have it's a client for this one is actually using a note in Bloomerang to track major gift opportunities, and the creation and updating of those opportunity notes feeds into this dashboard in Google Sheets where they can see all the details related to their pipeline and the different segments or buckets for that revenue that they are hoping to solicit and cultivate for their organization. The last example I want to show is our task management dashboard. So the tasks in Bloomerang are a really great tool because it allows a lot of nonprofits to manage activity related to a constituent as well as separate from a constituent within your Bloomerang CRM. So this is a great dashboard that could be created if you want to see a visualization of the activities your team is taking in Bloomerang. So you can see we've got some dashboards for task status, the different purposes and channels, and even how many tasks are completed, upcoming, or overdue by user. So a great way to be able to see that high level activity for tasks in Bloomerang. Now, all of these automations that we've talked about so far, this is really just to give you a taste of what's possible with Bloomerang and Zapier automations, but it is not everything that's possible. So other solutions that are possible, again, to give you some more ideas, we aren't able to do a deep dive on all of these, but you could sync Eventbrite attendee registration and check-in into Bloomerang. You could create a public searchable member directory using a platform called Airtable. You can send personalized video acknowledgements. A tool we've had a couple clients use is called Monjuro, but it's a way to kind of send a bit more personal of a thank you. We're seeing this used a little bit more across some nonprofits. You can utilize different online data collection forms. So whether these are donation forms or program interest forms, email sign-up forms, whatever those look like, Zapier will allow you to integrate and sync that data into your Bloomerang system. And then as we talked about, major gift pipeline, again, this could either be done in a Google Sheet or it could be done using a separate sales CRM. So Nutshell, Pipedrive, there's a few HubSpot, there's a few different CRMs out there. It's not uncommon for some nonprofit organizations to use a sales CRM to really help cultivate those major donors or sponsorship opportunities. And so a level of integration between your donor management CRM and a sales CRM can really help support some of those organizational goals. Again, if you don't use a sales CRM, a Google Sheet paired with custom fields and Bloomerang is also a very viable solution for tracking those giving opportunities. Now, in talking through a lot of these use cases, there may be a few that strike a chord with your organization. And so it's really helpful to think of integrations like stacking bricks. Once you have one automation in place, you level up to the next layer and so on. Whether it be iterating an existing solution or implementing a new one. This journey to automating the apps across your tech stack is never really over. Because as more use cases require automation, or you add other tools to your organization's tech stack, you'll need to continue to improve and expand the solutions that are integrated with Bloomerang. It's important to note that native integrations and custom integrations using using Zapier really serve to supplement and extend the power of Bloomerang. They don't replace your Bloomerang database. So as we talked about earlier, automation should really start from a lens that Bloomerang is core to your donor management and fundraising technology. And so as you can see in this illustration here, by automating tasks and the flow of data between your organization, you can save time and resource because data that needs to feed into Bloomerang is getting in there as a central hub. And then from Bloomerang, you're able to push out to those other tools you might be using for communicating out to clients or for other operational purposes. It really is my pleasure talking about Bloomerang and Zapier. I probably could talk about it all day. So we wanted to leave a lot of time here at the end of this webinar for questions. Again, I know Diana and Jeff have fielded most of those throughout the webinar today. We're going to launch a poll to see if you'd like to work with a consultant to explore your use case, your tech stack, what automation could look like for you. So we'll go ahead and launch that poll here in a minute. And then obviously, as we talked about here as well, we've got some upcoming webinars. I believe in the chat, Diana shared the dates for the upcoming 101 and 201 webinars. Let me grab those real quick. So the 101 webinar is scheduled for July 13th, and the 201 webinar is scheduled for July 27th. If you're interested in attending those, you can put those little reminders on your calendar. And then the Ask Me Anything is scheduled for August 24th. So a few really good webinars coming up here. These will dive more into some of the technical aspects of Zapier. So we will actually be jumping into Zapier and showing you in the 101 how to build using the Bloomerang Zapier app. And then in the 201, we will be showing you how to build using some of those utilities in Zapier to customize your integrations. So the 101 and the 201 have a bit more of a technical component to them. So if you're interested in learning how to navigate in Zapier and build zaps or automations, those would be great ones to attend so that you can get some familiarity with the platform itself. Now, Dan, I think we've got quite a bit of time here. If we have any questions that we want to address, looks like we've been pretty active in the chat today.
Yes, we do. First of all, could you show us Zapier's pricing page and give an idea of what the different pricing levels are with Zapier, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So
thank you, Jeff,
Zapier,
for posting that link on the chat as well.
absolutely. So Zapier's pricing page, zapier.com/pricing. I'll show you here. I'm logged into my Zapier right now, but I'll show you what this looks like. So Zapier's pricing is based off of what's called task usage. So every step in an automated workflow, if we go back to one of my examples here, let's find one. Go to it. Go to fundraising, the good one. So our trigger in Zapier, so that is our starting event in our source application. Our trigger in Zapier doesn't use any tasks, but every step in our workflow after that is one task. So in this workflow, every time a donation syncs from our fundraising app to Bloomerang, it would be 1, 2, 3 tasks. So in Zapier, everything is based off of task usage. So you can estimate your volume by how many steps are in your workflow and multiplying it by how many records or how many triggering events you would have in a month. So let's say we had 50 donations in a month from our fundraising app. 50 times 3 tasks would be around 150 tasks a month. So as you can see in Zapier's plans, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit here. You can see that they have a free plan. Free plan is likely not going to work for most of your Bloomerang integration workflows because these are single step zaps. So these would be more for things like email triggers. If you want to be notified every time a donation is made in Bloomerang, would be a free plan, but most of our clients start on the starter plan. So this allows you to create multi-step zaps. And there are tiers within each of these levels here. So there are tiers of task usage. It's really important to note that. I've had clients worry that after $49 a month, their next option is $300 a month. So if you are looking at Zapier pricing, do note that there are drop-down menus for different levels of task usage. Our average client that is doing Bloomerang automations pays anywhere from $20 a month to around $75 a month, again, depending on volume. Really comes down to volume most of the time. And also that increases with the number of apps you integrate with Bloomerang, because the more apps you're integrating, the more data is flowing across your Zapier platform. But most are in that $20 to $75 range. It's also important to note that Zapier does, on top of this pricing here, provide a 15% discount for nonprofits. So on top of this, you can take 15% off that you can, after you sign up for Zapier, you can go to their nonprofits page and apply for that discount. Most of our clients, though, again, started a professional plan up to around 5,000 tasks a month. We have a couple at the 10,000 task range, but they have around 7 or 8 different tools integrated with Bloomerang.
Great, thanks. And if folks are wondering if a tool that they use integrates with Zapier or can integrate with Zapier, how can they check that out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would go to Zapier's directory. So zapier.com/apps. And then it's just as easy as searching for the name of your app. So you use Classy. Oh, Classy's a poor example. That one's a private app. It's an invite-only app. So there is, I guess it's a good point to note, if the tool that you're using doesn't show up in Zapier's marketplace, that doesn't mean that it can't be integrated. So a Zapier app, or the presence of a Zapier app like Bloomerang has, where it has a listing in Zapier's marketplace, is the easiest opportunity for automation. But it's important to note that if you are using a tool that is not in Zapier's marketplace, there can sometimes be still different avenues for automation. They're a little bit more custom, but there are other opportunities. So we can go ahead and if you have a question about an app that you're using, if it doesn't show up in Zapier's marketplace, we can go ahead and explore with you whether it's a tool that could be integrated. And I do see here that someone's asked if we can show what a Zap looks like. Let's go ahead and do that, and I can show you what Zapier looks like. So the first thing to note, actually, let me go back there. I want to show you, if you go to Bloomerang's listing in the marketplace, I've seen a lot of questions about Eventbrite, so I want to focus on this real quick, and then I'll show what a Zap looks like. If we go to Bloomerang's page here, and we scroll down to the bottom, oops, I went right past it. You'll see that right here, there's a popular ways to use Bloomerang workflows. And there are some really basic sync templates that are already available to you in Zapier. So I know there's been a few questions about Eventbrite. You could come in and find the Eventbrite one for syncing new attendees registered, new attendees checked in, and simply click try it. And I'll show you what this looks like. It will go ahead and start building this Zap in your Zapier account for you. And a lot of the mapping is already set up. So you can see right here for this Eventbrite example, we have our trigger, which is a new attendee registered in Eventbrite. So each app that is in Zapier's marketplace may offer triggers or actions or what are called searches. When you come to build a trigger, if you're building this on a one-off basis and not copying a template, you would select your app and then choose which triggering event you want to use. So in this case, we're doing new attendee registered. I think if I've got, I do have my sandbox. There we go. Choose any. Okay. So I'm just setting up my trigger so that anytime a registration comes into any event in Eventbrite, it's going to go ahead and trigger. And so what I'm doing first is I'm pulling in a test. So Zapier allows you to test your trigger. Oh, and I guess I don't have any registrations in my sandbox. I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. But what this will do is that Eventbrite will actually return a sample payload of data since we don't have an active registration in our sandbox. But when we test our trigger, what it does is it gives us a set of all of the fields that would be provided in Zapier every time a new attendee is registered in Eventbrite. And what that allows us to do is that in our subsequent actions, like when we find or create a constituent in Bloomerang, it will go ahead. Probably not going to go because I don't have a test there. So what it would do, since I don't have a test registration, I was able to pull in from our sandbox. These references right here would populate with those fields from Eventbrite. So because this is a template, it's already pre-mapped for us, where it's going to give us our profile first name, our last name for the registrant, their email. So it goes ahead and already maps those data points to our Bloomerang actions. So in order to search for or find or create the constituent in Bloomerang. So the templates in Zapier are a great place to start, especially for those of you that are looking at Eventbrite specifically. The templates are a great place to start. There's a template for syncing new attendees registered, new attendees checked in, and new orders in Eventbrite as well, which is more that financial transaction. And they help get you started with that. So this is the Zapier editor. We've got our trigger. You can see one or more subsequent actions. We've got our find create action. And we've got our create interaction for the registration. I'll show you what that looks like. Let's going to make me go ahead and pause here. Get logged into my sandbox. There we go. So you can see we've got our create interaction in Bloomerang, which would be created for the registration. So lots of great ways to be able to do this. Let's go ahead and I don't think we have any custom fields in our interaction, our sandbox. Oh, there we go. So you can see it also will pull in your custom fields. So down here, I've got all of my custom fields set up in my sandbox that I could also map data to any of my custom fields if I want to as well. So I could select that this is my participation status is registered, so that when it's creating that interaction, I see that on there that this is for a registration. So going through these Bloomerang components, find constituent, create interaction, this is the primary focus of the 101 webinar. So the 101 webinar is going to be focused on going into what are the Bloomerang triggers, how do you set them up, what are the Bloomerang actions and searches, and how do you use those? So lots of hands-on live demos of Zapier and how to actually use those components. Zapier 201 is going to expand on that and show similar technical functionality, but related to the different utilities that Zapier makes available to help support your workflows. So lookup tables, conditional paths, filters, date and time conversions. Again, ways to just make sure that the data getting from point A to point B gets there successfully. Lots of deep dives scheduled for those 2 sessions. And then I anticipate in the Ask Me Anything as well, we will be showing Zapier and different functionality there to answer any questions that you have that come up during that session.
Thank you, Jessie. That was a great teaser to our Zapier 101 and Zapier 201. But as you all can see as well, we'll include a link to the Bloomerang page on the Zapier or the Bloomerang app page in Zapier. So you can see some samples of how you might connect it with some of your other apps that you might already be using. And so you can also search to see what triggers and actions are available with some of the apps that you've been using. Thank you so much for all of your questions today. Jeff, please let us know if there's any questions we may have missed. There was a lot of great questions from everyone. Thank you for everyone for your great engagement and great questions. Lovely. And yes, so please don't forget, today was just like a very nice teaser for everyone, but we'll go into more detail on how Zapier works in our Zapier 101, 201, and Ask Me Anything. I'm not seeing any last minute questions at the moment, but in the meantime, and Jessie, do you have any parting thoughts for our friends today?
I would say if this has piqued your interest at all about setting up automations for your organization, great time would be to do some poking around in Zapier between now and the 101 webinar, but I couldn't recommend enough attending the 101 webinar at a minimum if you're interested in setting up Bloomerang automations, because it will provide you with a great sense of how the Bloomerang Zapier app works and what is possible in using those components to get data in or out of Bloomerang.
Lovely. Thank you again, Jessie. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Just as a reminder, we'll send out a link to the recording and the slides, as well as the dates for the future classes so that you can mark your calendars and make sure to join us for those upcoming classes. And thank you again for joining us today. We are all very excited on how all of you will get to explore automations and extend the capabilities of your Bloomerang database through all of these integrations, especially with Zapier that has over 5,000 integrations out there. So we really like to think that any tool or most any tool that you're already using, you can connect to Bloomerang through Zapier, so you can keep Bloomerang as your central hub for all of your fundraising and donor management needs. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us today. We hope you have a great rest of your day, and we hope to see you in another Academy class soon. Thanks again to Jessie. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Diana. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.